Hi friends, hello, it's Catherine Massel, Conscious Creatrix, catherinemassel.com. Getting a little water. How is everyone doing? Let's see, get my glasses on, maybe it'd be a little easier to see. This is kind of a piggyback to a live talk that I did yesterday. I was talking about personality crisis and what's going through our collective, and the best way to talk about that is the great unbecoming, the great emptying, getting closer to the void, the emptying of self, which only and ever leads to identity shifts. And I want to pick up on where I kind of left off with yesterday's talk, and if you did not check it out, it's on my YouTube channel. I think it's under Lionsgate Identity Shifts, The Great Unbecoming, and Gifts, because I had some gifts to give away, including a really awesome energy activation and abundance activation with the goddess Sothis, and that is on my Abundant Intuitive podcast if you want to check that out. So there is a major timeline shift coming, and the portal of this new timeline that is, well, it's already opened really. It opened about March, early April of this year. And the next month, as we come in through the end of this Lionsgate portal, as of this date, it is August 9th, 2019. So as we go through the next 3 or 4 days, you're going to feel this mounting energy towards this shift. It's going to feel like this timeline shift is going to feel like, you know, depending on where you are on your human awakening journey and how much chaos you're inviting into your life because you're in a place of resistance, it's going to feel like this timeline is speeding things up really rapidly, and that will usually feel like you're in alignment with these changes, you're on board with these changes, these shifts that are coming because you know there's something better for you. It's going to feel like this timeline is speeding things up for you. Conversely, if you are someone who's in a great deal of resistance, you're battling with your ego about who you think you are, or who you believe you are, or who you believe you have been, and you're in resistance about these things that are coming in very clear contrast, saying, yeah, you're not this person. You really never have. And what are you getting out of it by holding on to it? You know, what's the payoff of you holding on to this identity that really doesn't serve you anymore? Why are you white-knuckling something with so much fear if it really has nothing to offer you anymore? Those of you who are in that camp are going to feel like time has slowed down. So this timeline shift in this next month, and it's really going from around August 12th until about September 14th through the 19th. 19th is going to feel a little intense, maybe very intense for some people, of September 14th through 19th. So through this next month, we are really going to be in a place where we need to make some decisions. We need to make some concrete decisions. A lot of us have been waffling. We have been wishy-washy. We've been like Charlie Brown. If you're here in the US and you grew up with Charlie Brown and Peanuts like I did, Charlie Brown is a classic example of not being able to make a decision and being very wishy-washy and like, well, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. He was a big doubter. Okay, so if many of you are feeling like you can't make a decision because you're doubting both outcomes, you're not giving yourself the grace, the wisdom, and the insight from past experience or coming from a place of faith to be able to make a concrete decision and just commit to it and go with it and then walk that path. There's a lot of us who are waffling with that right now. But this next major timeline shift that's happening, it's an invitation to get clear on who you want to be. Finally, who do you want to be? If you were to bring something into your way of being and make it concrete, meaning a way of being that you would commit to, a way of being that is giving you something that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel joy, that makes you feel a sense of happiness, that makes you feel a sense of flow, that makes you feel like you're no longer managing the expectations of societal norms or people in your life, friends, family, coworkers, your boss, whatever, and you are actually finally, choosing your own authority. Now is the time to really pull back and see the stark contrast between those two things and those two ways of being. Because if we're trying not to hide this from ourselves, and we literally pull back and are willing to see what's really going on, we'll be able to see the contrast, and we'll be able to see exactly where we're still managing these expectations. We are still managing this way of being that's not really serving us any longer. And just in doing that and having that awareness of just that feeling, like this just doesn't feel good anymore. So what is that feeling? What is that self-negating feeling? What is the opposite of that? Because what the opposite of that is what your soul level of expression is crying out for you to anchor into. So that's a way of helping you get really clear. This is, if you're really honest with how you feel in the day-to-day, and whatever that self-negating, self-limiting emotion is that's the driving force of your life, and let's face it, probably has been for years, maybe decades on end. Through that, you're able to see the contrast of, okay, what do I really want then? There's the clarity that I'm looking for. If I'm feeling lack, then what I want is to find things that make me feel full, abundant, prosperous, that make me feel like I have cosmic bounty at my fingertips. So what do I need to finally let go of in order to do that? So if you go to the emotion first, okay, well, I'm feeling this. Okay, what's the opposite of that? Then you can kind of reverse engineer it and make a better decision about where you're going. If you can kind of reverse engineer, like, okay, well, what am I doing every day that's making me feel this self-limiting emotion? What would be the opposite of that? It's a way of kind of breaking things down. And when we're in the chaos of going through, closing out an old timeline of, power structures that really don't hold up anymore, ways of being, expectations of ways of being that really don't hold up anymore, that don't do anything to drive us forward, as humans in an elevated consciousness kind of way, those things are becoming really apparent. Our ways of being, our ways of acting, our ways of thinking, our ways of feeling that are supporting that old timeline that's ready to close out and ready to shut and seal for good. Where are you still doing those things, okay? This is really a time for us to be able to bridge the gap between the thought and the feeling that's keeping this old timeline and paradigm structure of self-limitation and self-negation, a lack of self-realization, all of that alive. It's really bringing this into a heightened state of contrast right now, where we're being invited by the universe to choose. We're being asked by the universe to choose. And a lot of us feel at this point where there's all this chaos, like, but I really want this. I want to be loved. I want to be prosperous. I want to do something that feels meaningful in my life. I want to do something where I'm leaving a legacy of light behind, some sort of an impact, where I feel like I actually came here and I did something with my time here. I feel like I'm living my life fully. Many of you are coming to this realization where it's just like, it's not that you're even angry anymore. You're just done. You're just done with this old way of being that limits that greatly, or limits your ability to be able to step into that. And with this resignation, then follows on the heels of that, you have to make a decision. And especially with this timeline that is bringing a close to an old way of being that does not serve you, doesn't serve humanity anymore, you're being asked to make a decision. We often interpret this as being tested, okay? The universe doesn't test you. The universe never tests you. If you think the universe is testing you, that implies that the universe has judgment. The universe has no judgment. Source consciousness and everything that creates everything in the universe has no judgment. People have judgment because people have ego, okay? So there is only ever the universe asking you to choose, because down here in our 3D experience, we have free will choice. So even though you find yourself maybe in the eye of this hurricane of all of these chaotic changes and shifts happening down here on the earth plane, and you feel like you're being tested to the max, you feel like you are really at that tipping point of like, I think I might go crazy. You're driving yourself crazy because you're not making a decision about how you want to be. Many of you are not even getting clear on what you'd like your life to feel like. Don't get so caught up in what you want it to look like. What do you want your life to feel like? So when you get clear on that, and you can reverse engineer it this way, when you get clear on what you want your life to feel like, you can start looking and taking inventory at everything that you're doing in your daily life that's making you feel the opposite of that. And then finally make the decision and vow to yourself that you're going to cut it out, that you're going to stop. Because this next timeline shift is either bringing you to this place of you can go through the same thing you went through over the last couple decades of your life and do that for another decade or more, and just hit the repeat button by not changing anything, not going through a period of self-examination, not going through a process of self-excavation, self-realization. You have that option. That's your choice. It's up to you. You can just hit the repeat button and do everything that you've done over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, and do it again over the next 10, 12 years. Entirely up to you. Or you can decide to cut out the fat. Finally, liberate yourself from all that you are not. Allow yourself to shed. Allow yourself to unbecome. Get clear on who you want to be. Making this shift and being able to choose wisely between hitting the repeat button on this old timeline and keeping that alive and well, or moving into this new, very self-affirming timeline that really is your bridge to an ascended, elevated consciousness way of being, you must choose. What do you want your reality to feel like? What do you want your everyday way of being to feel like? You get to choose. And you are never not choosing. In every single moment, you are choosing something based on the experiences of your past, thinking that, well, this is what's possible in my life because I've done it before. And many of us in the chaos and everything shifting and changing, everything being redefined and then refined in this new elevated consciousness way of being that is 5D reality, we are unfortunately tethering our mind to an old way of being. We are tethering our imagination to an old way of being because we say, yeah, I've done this before and I could probably do this again. But here's what's interesting about this new timeline that's opening up. We have immaculate possibilities and potentials for ways of being that we haven't even in our imagination and in our field of mind that's still kind of limited by ancient circuitry. We can't even imagine what is next. So that kind of mental constipation that you have of saying, well, this could be possible for me, you're hinging it on something that's already been done and you're just kind of one-upping it a little bit. You're not being brave, my dear one. You're not being adventurous. You are not leaping in with both feet with a sense of wonder that the universe is fucking asking you to do. And I'm sorry to be sweary. But I really want you guys to get this because this is going to be a painful time. And I'm not trying to be a bummer here. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I really want you guys to understand the gravity of the situation that is in front of you right now. You can choose this old self-negating way of being by not changing a damn thing. And just going business as usual, managing other people's expectations, saying maybe things will be better tomorrow, hoping. Hoping is coping, people. Stop hoping. You're just coping. You're tolerating. Hoping that something will shift that doesn't have anything to do with you or you taking action or being proactive in your own life. It's not a time to just sit back and say, there's too much happening. You know what? I'm just going to let the universe take over. No. It's a co-creative process. So without you imagining or bringing an intention to what is next, the universe is just going to throw at whatever vibration that you're at, it will match that. So if your vibration is non-committance, if your vibration is confusion, if your vibration is withdrawal, the universe is just going to match that vibration in kind and send you more of that. However, if you are in a vibration of, boy, I wonder what's next. What could be next for me? I can't even imagine what is next for me if I step into this way of feeling my life every day, feeling like life is an adventure, feeling like life could be lived more fully if I just participated a little bit more, smiled at more people, talked to more people, helped more people, made myself available to my family, to my friends, strangers on the street. If I just co-opted all of my energy into being a full participator in this game of life, I wonder what could happen. Right there, you're already stepping into that new timeline. Just with that vibration. Okay? That's really exciting. And here's the thing about just stepping into that energy. It creates a momentum, because stepping into that level of energy where you have a sense of wonder, a childlike sense of innocence about what could be next, just because you can't imagine how something might look for you that is much more fulfilling or meaningful than whatever's happening in your life right now, just because you can't imagine it because your mind is maybe still tethered to an old way of being and old experiences, don't worry about that. Don't let your mind be constipated and blocked by that. Instead, opt in for this childlike sense of wonder and this sense of innocence, like you're being reborn, because, hello, you are. We're all being rebirthed, okay? We're all going through a period of rebirth, a major identity shift on the collective, on the individual level. That's all happening whether we're conscious of this or not. It's all happening for all of us, okay? But to the level at which we participate in that, you will be helped by the universe. The universe is going to match your vibration either way. But here's the really wonderful thing about how the universe matches your vibration if you have this childlike sense of wonder about what's next. It says, you know what? Okay, I see that you're excited. I see that you feel this kind of anticipation in a good way. Not where you have an expectation of how things have to look or how they have to feel in order to turn out in a way that could make you happy. Because we often hinge our happiness upon, well, I'll be happy if it looks this way. I'll be happy if it feels like that. If you can let go of that and just have a sense of wonder, just be excited and anticipate what's next with a sense of not like chewing on your nails or white knuckling, whatever you happen to be holding on to at the moment, your steering wheel or the chair that you're sitting in, but in a way where you're like, wow, this is an exciting time to be alive. The universe will match that vibration in a really beautiful way, and it will send you things that even if you tried your hardest to imagine something that has never been for you, you could never imagine how amazing that could and wonderful that could possibly be. The universe will serve something up to you that you have never imagined possible. This is the exciting time and the kind of in-between place we find ourselves in. And we are in this in-between place because we are learning how to bridge the gap in our thinking. We're learning how to kind of navigate this paradox of having a 3D life on Earth where we have basic needs that we need met, right? We need to be able to pay our rent. We need to put food in the fridge. We need to be able to put clothes on our body. We need to be able to send our kids to school. We need to go to the dentist, right? We need to do all these things to manage our day-to-day life here as human beings. So we're kind of, treading the line between this paradox of being in a 3D body and having our basic needs met, hopefully more than just our basic needs met, and living beyond survival mode. But then moving into this place where the invitation from the universe is, but we need to look beyond the day-to-day. We need to, better yet, feel beyond the day-to-day and feel into this massive portal of potential that is opening. And many of you are feeling this kind of thing that's just kind of bubbling up under the surface. You can't articulate it yet. Maybe some of you can, who are very sensitive or very empathic. You can't put your finger on what it is exactly, but it just feels like something is really ready to burst wide open. something really expansive, something wonderful, not something that instills fear in you, but rather something that, kind of infuses even more excitement into your way of being. And this kind of palpable electric feeling that like something is next here. Something is kind of like gurgling under the surface here that's kind of exciting. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I know I'm going to be the better person for it. If you can just allow yourself to feel into the adventure of that with a sense of like bravery in your spirit that just says, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. And in order to really be in a state of preparation for it, the invitation from the universe is to be able to shed more of those layers of all that you are not and to get really clear on who you want to be, okay? This old timeline that's kind of sealing shut, if you choose to change nothing, you're kind of sealing yourself shut in it. Sorry, not sorry. And it's not that the universe is imposing that on you, because the universe never messes with your free will. But you making a choice to do nothing is still a choice, okay? So making that choice to do nothing and see all of these things happening and to just kind of, tuck yourself in bed and hide under the sheets and say, you know what, wake me up in November. That is still you making a choice. Just because you are in retreat, just because you have receded from life, doesn't mean you are not making a choice. And you are making a self-negating choice in that way by not opting in onto your own authority to maintain your own sovereignty and make a free will choice that's more informed from a place of what your soul level of expression is asking you to do. Lessons are culminating. It's time to compile them. So over, with all the retrogrades that we've had, all this convergence of celestial bodies, it's been intense. But through that, and I always say this, my clients get sick of me saying this, there's always a gift in the garbage, okay? All of these lessons that we are compiling, they are bringing us wisdom. They are bringing us insight. They're inviting us to take a look at where we're still hiding something from ourselves, okay? And I want you to think that, anywhere you are not being fully truthful with another person in your life, maybe you're omitting certain things, that's still not telling the truth. I don't want you to think about you hiding something from someone else. You not coming clean or finally making a break from the past in this way where you just admit something and declare something as I've done this. This is me. This is who I am. It's not so much you're hiding from that other person or other people. You are hiding that from yourself. And anywhere you're doing that, this is going to really hurt you where you live over the next month. So where can you come clean? Because anything that has been kept in the shadows, anything you're hiding, is going to be coming up for revelation. You can either get on board with this process of just letting it all go, letting it all out. What's the worst that could happen? Do you think you've done anything that's so terrible that no one else on this planet has done it? Do you think you've said something that's unforgivable or committed some act that is completely unforgivable? And that if you came clean, the people in your life would cast you aside? Well, maybe that's exactly the shift that needs to happen to have those people fall away in your life so that you can step into this new timeline with grace and ease. That's something to consider. And maybe you need to let yourself off the hook for all those things that you think you did that were so bad, so unforgivable, so terrible, so egregious. I guarantee you there's someone else on the planet who's done something way fucking worse than you, okay? So let yourself off the hook. Peel away these layers. It will feel so good to reset your energetic level at this point, to be able to just let go of everything that doesn't need to be there anymore. Just shed it. Don't be afraid of unbecoming. Don't be afraid of emptying. Because the more we are empty, the more we enter into the void of 5D consciousness. And we only can get there through this great emptying of shedding all that we are not. And I know I keep talking about this. This is a broken record, but there's so many of you who just don't want to hear this, who just don't want to get on board with it. And I'm not trying to convert anyone, but I want to be as candid and as clear as possible for you to understand the implications at stake here. And I'm giving a very finite timeline here, from basically now-ish, and that's not very finite, but August 12th, basically through to September 19th. There are major timeline shifts that are happening, and you're going to see this in the collective. So don't just take my word for it. Start paying attention to what you see coming up in the collective. A lot more stories of people coming clean in the news. Stories that have had hidden knowledge that's been right under the surface for maybe even decades, maybe even hundreds of years, having to do with religion, politics, society as a whole, coming up into the light, major revelations, where people have been hypocrites, where people have been talking out of two sides of their mouth, that kind of stuff all coming up, and us seeing, witnessing as a collective, all of this stuff play out and the earthly play of life. So don't just take my word for it. Pay attention to what's happening in the news and the collective over the next month and see if I'm right. And if I'm not, you can say, Catherine, you're full of shit. It won't be the first time I've heard it. Lessons are culminating. Take a look at where you're still hiding things from yourself. It's going to be revealed one way or the other. And it can be a conscious process. It can be a very willing process for you to just bring this out in the open. And I guarantee that feeling of being refreshed and reset by doing that will feel amazing. I guarantee that. Mark my words. I talked about this week in 2 different lives about the stabilization, the concretization of our way of being. Either let go of your old identity, okay, which allows you to move into this new timeline, and embrace a new way of being, of your own design, okay? You get to deliberately create your life. And it's not like with this identity shift that you're starting over. You're not. You're starting from experience. You're starting from a place of profound wisdom and insight based on what you have been, the lessons that you're culminating and kind of taking inventory of now. Finding those gifts in the garbage. Finding out, where all these lessons have been served up and where you've been amazingly resilient. Where you've remained strong. You're still here. You're still drawing breath. Congratulate yourself for that. Love yourself for that. Use these as your tools that maybe felt like coping before, but you've actually turned them into some of your greatest strengths, some of your greatest powers. Take inventory of that too. And congratulate yourself for it. Pat yourself on the back for it. Love yourself for it. Allow yourself to feel worthy for everything that you have endured. Everything that's come to pass has led you exactly where you are right now, and that is a blessed thing. Because exactly where you are right now is in a place where you can make a wonderful decision to carry your life forward based on wisdom, insight, and experience, hard-won lessons. Or you can choose to retreat and be in fear. What there is to be in fear of at this point, I don't know, because we've all been put through the ringer so much. Like, what is there really to be afraid of anymore? I mean, haven't you felt all the feels? Haven't you been through the full spectrum of the lower vibration of emotions at this point? Like, what else is there to be afraid of, really? Unless you're afraid of the expanse, the void, of not knowing, of moving into new experiences that are completely new and separate from anything that resembles a record of your past. Unless you're afraid of this map of the future that is laid out before you, that is all new. It's like when the first cartographers started to draw maps and they thought the world was still flat. And at the end of the map, there would be dragons. And I love that symbolism because the dragons, our personal dragons, our skeletons in the closet or whatever, are literally the ends of our map. That's as far as we will let ourselves go. There is no limiting force out there in the universe that's saying, hey, this is as far as you go. You will decide how far you will go based on what personal dragons are still breathing fire down your neck, what skeletons you still have in the closet, what you're still hiding from yourself. Those monsters that you fear are the ones that you create yourself. And that is the only thing that is limiting you. So what is that? What are your personal dragons? What have you been tolerating that maybe at this point you just refuse to tolerate or cope with anymore? You know, what is it that are your new standards? What are your new standards? What will you no longer tolerate? What will you no longer allow? For yourself, from other people, from society. We can only ever start to change that when we start to change our own feelings, our own thought patterns, our own behaviors, and achieve a congruence, a coherence of thought, feeling, and action that aligns with these new standards that we put in place for ourselves. And your new entire way of being hinges upon how coherent or congruent that way of thought, feeling, and being are. And this is the biggest saving grace of this new timeline, and the assurance, the guarantee that you will step into this new self-affirming timeline is how clear you are on what those new standards are, what you want to feel, what you want to be, what you want to live out. What does living life fully feel like for you when you feel into that? And what standards of practice will you create for yourself around that to kind of give yourself those navigation posts? Where are those boundaries set so that it's only this way for me? And anyone else who habitually oversteps those boundaries, they're out of my life. That's it. Any situation or event that habitually line steps, out. Okay? Set those standards. Figure that out. And when you do that and you have that clarity, the universe will match that vibration in kind. That is a guarantee. It will set its compass to wherever you set your compass to. But it doesn't know where the hell to set it to if you don't set it first. And if your energy is all over the place and you're making decisions that are different every day than the day before, like, I want this. No, wait, I want that. And you wonder why the universe is sending you so many weird, random, screwed up things. It's only sending you what is a match to your vibration. So this is a time to organize your mind and your body. Organize your thought. Organize your body by feeling into what a fully lived life will feel like for you. What do you want that to feel like for you? Create coherence and then commit. Commit to it. Have this coherence of mind and body and behavior every day, and don't doubt. Then move into faith. A level of faith where you say, all right, universe, this is me every single day. Whoops. This is me every single day, feeling this way, thinking this way, acting this way. And every day, day in and day out, if you keep that level of coherence strong, you commit to that, and you don't doubt. You don't go into that place, well, this isn't working. You've only been that way for 2 days. Give it some time. Try out this coherence of thought, feeling, and behavior where you're on board. Everything is lined up. The way you're feeling matches your thinking. The way you're thinking matches your feeling. The way you're feeling matches how you are behaving and performing in your everyday life. Give it a week. Give it 2 weeks. Make it a vow to yourself that you will be this way through the next month. And then you will ensure that you are not only opening up this new timeline of this portal that's already open, but this new individual timeline for yourself that allows you to move into the next phase of your life where you're no longer in that place of self-negation. You're no longer in that place of feeling unworthy or lack of self-love or lack in any way, shape, or form. Where you don't know what's next. Well, you know, the exciting part of being alive right now, is not always knowing what's next. But the level of preparation is everything. And that means having your mind and your body organized in such a way where you know down to a cellular level how you want your life to feel. The universe will match that in kind. What are your standards? How do you want to feel? What are these new boundaries? What are you absolutely done with? What have you been coping with or tolerating that you're just like, maybe you're not, maybe you are angry, but maybe you're like, I'm not angry, I'm just done. I'm just done. And I'm ready. I'm ready for this new phase. Even if I don't know what next looks like, I know what I want it to feel like. And then have the faith that the universe, if you're staying in that congruence of thought, feeling, and behavior, the universe will send you something so wonderful you couldn't even imagined what it could be. Your personal dragons. Where is that at the end of your map? Whatever personal dragons, skeletons in the closet, the things you're hiding from other people, are the things you're really hiding from yourself. Those are the dragons at the end of your map that are just there looming in the margins and literally creating that border for how far you will go. What are they? What are you so afraid of? And really, what is there to be afraid of anyway? Hi, Christine. This taskmaster energy of Saturn, as it moves out of retrograde and goes direct, I think it goes direct around the 19th, okay? This has a lot to do with this sealing off of this old timeline or sealing the destiny of your new one. You get to choose, either one, you get to choose. This taskmaster energy of Saturn is asking you, the universe is asking you, switch up your stuff. Switch it up. Come clean. Clean up your mess. Clean up your mess in terms of whatever you're hiding from yourself. Whatever you think you're hiding from others is what you're really hiding from yourself. Whatever you're pretending not to know. The hurt that you're holding on to, maybe you're not forgiving yourself, you're not forgiving someone else. It is crucial at this time, in this next month. You got 4 weeks plus to clean this up and seal yourself in the destiny of a new self-affirming timeline. This is what my signature program is all about. So if you are interested in this and you are done with this old way of being and you want to ensure the new destiny that is inherent in this portal that's already open, but this timeline that brings you into a new self-affirming way of being, closing yourself off from and creating the boundaries from these old self-limiting emotions that have allowed you to think life can only be this way. If you're staying in those emotions, you will always be saying to yourself, life can only be this way. There's no other possibilities. And you will stay constipated and blocked in your thinking and your feeling and your entire way of being. If you are allowing these emotions that have been the driving force of your life up until now still direct the trajectory of your life. And if you're doing this, you are sealing yourself into an old timeline, and you're basically going to be hitting the repeat button on everything that has come to pass over the last 10, maybe 20 years. Do you want to repeat that again? I don't. I don't even want to repeat the last 3 years. This is my signature program. This is starting on September 5th, which is perfect timing for all of this. It's time to start thinking about all of this now. And when you do start the program, you can start with the first module right away, which is a clarity module. So those of you who are having a really hard time with clarity, figuring out what you want, what are your new standards for a new way of being that's self-affirming. Maybe you don't even know what that is. The first module of this program will help you right now, okay? So we start officially on September 5th, 11 a.m. Pacific time. It is a 10-week program. It is intense. We have a Facebook group for extra support. I am there for support and answering questions. It is fully laid out, all the details of this program in the link that I'm going to put in right here. The cart is open now. There is a payment plan for it. So those of you who don't want to pay all at once, there is a 3-month payment plan, which makes it very convenient and very easy for you. And as soon as I can actually click on this, I will put the link in the comments. So thanks for watching. I know it's a lot to think about. I know it's a lot to take in. But remember, it is always and ever your choice. But I want to give you, I wanted to illuminate the larger playing field that's happening right now so you can make a more informed, a wiser decision about where you're going next, so you don't feel like you're just kind of like a flag waving in the wind and you're just kind of going wherever the wind blows you. That's not who we are anymore. We don't get to languish in that level of being irresponsible in our own lives. We are sovereign beings, and we act on our own authority when we have the most information about what's really going on, what we have to gain and what we have to lose. And so by illuminating this playing field for you, I hope that you will make a decision to join me and the other ladies in this program. And so I want to wish you so much love and peace